of presentation, and today I'm dealing the subaltern perspective through Antoinette's character in White Sargasso. This is my personal informations. And first I'm dealing the subaltern terms, and that's this presentation also based on the subaltern perspective view of in this wide surrogacy. The first we have look at the term subaltern means describe the lower status. It means the term was originally introduced by the Italian Marxist theorist Antoine Gramsci to speak of politically uncoordinated popular mass. However, the word has a great associations with the post-colonial theory through a collective of Indian writer headed by Ranjan Guha called Subaltern Study, and even more so through the writing of Gayatri Spivak. Gayatri Spivak also we dealings with this in her essay. In the post-colonial theory, the term subaltern was used to refer the socially marginalized and non-elite groups in the still while colonized. That's these terms also dealing with the peoples are the marginalized peoples. And Spivak would draw on deconstructionism, Marxism, and feminism as the question in her famous essay of the name Can the Subaltern Speak? And her answer in this essay, she also given the subaltern subject is irretrievably heterogeneous and cannot be invoked a unified voice. And further, there are no subject position in English or Indian discourse that would allow to Saban to know or speak itself. And this is doubtly so for the subaltern women in colonial contexts who have neither the conceptual language to speak nor the ear of colonial indigenous men to listen. In this subaltern terms also describe that the women's they are not be given the this right of speaking. It means the language conceptual language to speak no. And now that we now I'm discuss the about authors. The Jane Rhys was born and brought up in the Dominica, a former British colony with a society that encompasses extreme diversity of both European and African cultures. And in the topic of main concern is raised, the texts are human relationship either between man and woman or apprehensions about personal identity. Rhys emerged as a master storyteller, and she create effective character in her novels, and she also represent character through the character identity, madness, and slavery through her character. And the subaltern perspective in this novel, in we have in the wide surrogacy articulate of race and gender in the context of debate that has been waged with the feminist post-colonial study around the representation of racial otherness. On the one hand, critics like Benita Perry contend that we need to recover historical repressed knowledges on to construct the speaking position of the subaltern. That Benita Perry also focus of the speaking position of the subaltern. And another hand, the Spivak and in her followers also tells that the subaltern voice invoking historical context and reproduce the epistemic violence of imperialism. It imposed on the subaltern Western assumptions of embodied subjectivity and not simply by giving his her voice back. And Spivak and Perry both are invoke white surrogacy is the representation of black Creoles to illustrate their respective approach. In the novels, exposes the conventional cultural constructions through which Antoinette, like a Rochester, represent her racial others, but is the paradoxical also resists the assigning the subalterns the functions of the mere repository of Eurocentric assumptions. After reading the black subject as an unmeditated representation of historical African Creoles by foregrounded the complex and shifting cultural constructs of race, sex, and class through which the black Creoles are perceived in this novel. In these novels are also focuses of the race, sex, and classes conflict in the black Creoles and white. And black resistance is white surrogacy is located the complex interplay between the colonial strategies and subaltern practice. The novel's complex delineations of pure histories and cultures of Caribbean forecloses a voice recovery by the hampering the reader identification with Antoinette. And in this novel, the protagonist of Antonius is insecure and disoriented so much that she seems to functions merely by the internalizing others, especially her mother's language and contradictions value. And Antonians are so insecure, and in that sense the one black little girls also are telling that the white cockroaches, and that means she is also the leave that life in the Jamaica, that and that place the black are also not be respected of the Antoinette. And the subaltern treatment of Antoinette. The first sections of the novel, the young Antoinette's perceptual and psychological point of view, in considerably confused and confusing. And Antoinette was neither European nor a black, but a white and West Indian. And she also suffering that the in the European and not a black, but also suffering that the black girls and blacks identity for that background to stamped as outsider. And Rhys has brought to life the character of Antoinette from her childhood impression of life in Dominica. In these novels also represent the life of authors Jane Reyes. Also, the same in Jane Reyes' childhood also represent her life in these novels, and through the character of Antoinette. And the novel display Annette and Antoinette's confrontations with a traumatic experience. Traumatic experience, we have to know that Annette's sons, the was die in the burns by the black peoples, and Antoinette also suffered in and suffers of the uncomfortations in the black Creole's identity given her, and the black slave were free from the rules of white plantations owners. And one incident, like when Antoinette was pushed towards the margins, is when she was going to convent for Aunt Cora's house. At that time, the black woman and boy with Negro, that's is cheating some chasing her some words like the looking the crazy girl, you crazy like your mother's, your aunt fighting it to have you in house, your mother walk alone with no shoes and shocking on her feet. She sends calots. She tried to kill her husband and she tried to kill you too. That day you go to see her. She has eyes like zombies too. In this means the black peoples are also be suffering suffering from those words. And Antoinette is very suffering for the behavior of the black peoples. And the highlights point of this novel, the novel's foreground its black resistance without, however, offering unmeditated access to alternative Negro traditions or to a country discourse to an imperialist way of knowing. The novel neither celebrates improvisational articulations of the vast Indian world from the Black Creoles point of view, nor put the resilience Christophine in the role of the self-determining individualist Antoinette felt to become, and rather its highlight to ways in which Black Creoles agency was primarily identified as a criminality and affirmed not for its own sake so much as to justify the subjugated and obscure white dominations. And this, thank you, and this is my references.